Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to Celeb Source. It's the backup channel backing Celeb up and bringing you all the breaking news. As you know, Memphis rapper and former member of 3 6 Mafia, Gangsta Boo, was found dead on her porch at the age of 43. After learning of the Queen of Memphis's death, one fan said, "This is a heartbreak to Memphis and the culture of hip-hop." Now, in the days following her death, many people have shared their thoughts about Gangsta Boo online. They wanted to say RIP and they wanted to share their condolences. One such person was Glorilla. Glorilla said that when she first started blowing up in this rap game, Gangsta Boo was one of the first people to reach out to her, give her support, and show her some love. As a matter of fact, Glorilla went online and showed some receipts. She wrote, quote, "I normally don't post screenshots, but the fact that she reached out to me before anybody else had a clue of who I was, she always supported me and the girls way back before we blew up. 100% real legend. There will never be another Gangsta Boo." And under her message, she posted a few screenshots of their conversation. I gotta tell you, at first when the news first dropped that Gangsta Boo died, I was like, yo, who is Gangsta Boo, right? And then they started putting up her pictures on the TV, and I was like, she looks so familiar to me, but I don't remember like hearing any of her rap songs like that. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's my girl from Marriage Boot Camp. Remember back when her and Emmett, the really cool white guy, were on there and they got kicked off the show because Judge Lynn Tola and Dr. Ish found the white powdery substance in their bedroom? I really liked that chick because she was mad cool, laid back, and down to earth. But if you remember, after she got kicked off the show, she was not very happy about it, and she went online and she wrote, quote, "You would think that someone like Dr. Ish would have a better choice of delivery when he's trying to be all professional. Not sure if he's just the TV doctor when the cameras are on or in real life when they are off. This is hashtag Mental Health Awareness Month. So if you care so much about people's health with so much concern and sincerity, why did you noticeably allow people to be on prescription meds while drinking alcohol in front of you? Everything was on camera. Don't pretend like you didn't know." End quote. Well, after that, Gangsta Boo went on to say that she wouldn't recommend anybody to do therapy with Dr. Ish even if they were desperate. And then she said, quote, "You actually owe the people who suffer from these things in the dark a deep apology. It was a bit insensitive and wrong, Doc. Someone may see you say what you're saying and be scared to get help in fear of being looked at as a substance abuser or judged by people. I actually have a real therapist who would never attach personality disorders to substance abuse so freely or allow patients to indulge in alcohol on prescription meds in front of them." End quote. I don't know, as I'm reading this, it seems as if Gangsta Boo, aka Lola Mitchell, may have gone on Marriage Boot Camp to actually try to get some real help. And when she got there, she realized it was a sham, just like a whole bunch of these other reality TV shows, you know what I'm saying? And they may have dropped the ball, because when they found that white powdery substance in her bedroom, they should have gotten her some help instead of just kicking her off the show. I don't know what's going on these days because we've gotten so far from like humanity because it's like the show must go on no matter what. You find some crack in a person's bedroom, the show must go on. The football player collapses on the field, the show must go on. I mean, this is just sad. Listen, and while we're talking about that, let me give you an update on Damar Hamlin. As you know, Buffalo Bills football player Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field the other day after taking a hit to the chest. After he took the tackle, he fell to the ground and his heart stopped. They were able to resuscitate him and put him in an ambulance. However, his heart stopped again. They were able to resuscitate him again. According to his uncle, once they got to the hospital, they intubated him and put him on a respirator. At first, the respirator was doing 100% of the breathing, but now the respirator is doing 50% of his breathing, which is a slight sign of improvement. As I'm doing this recording, Damar is still in critical condition, but our prayers are with this young brother, and we are hoping for a full recovery. Look, people like Skip Bayless from Undisputed need to understand that these young men and women who are out here playing these sports are not like little action figures that you're just remote controlling from like wherever you're at. These are real human beings that are out there, and you need to treat them with respect, especially since if they weren't out there doing what they were doing, you wouldn't get a paycheck. I mean, how could you tweet when all of this is going on, quote, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems irrelevant," end quote. And then after it's all done, you go on Undisputed the next day, you got the fake tears, and you're talking about we made a mistake. We shouldn't have done it. No, we didn't do nothing because I wasn't sitting over there tweeting out no insensitive stuff, and the majority of everybody else wasn't doing that either. You did that, bruh. And if I'm gonna keep it 100, I don't think Skip Bayless was that contrite, because if he was, he would have quoted De La Soul, and he'd have been like, me, myself, and I apologize for what I did. And you see, because he didn't, that's why Shannon Sharpe didn't show up, because Shannon Sharpe was like, listen, that's you, yourself, and you. You clean that mess up on your own. And I gotta tell you, in this case, I think Steven Jackson was right, because Steven Jackson came out and said if that had been Tom Brady, Skip Bayless would have had a totally different reaction. Check out what Steven Jackson had to say.
Every episode of Rings of Power, plus all the Lord of the Rings movies on the one.
It was Tom Brady. I guarantee you would have chose your words wisely. Somebody that's been in journalism for over 40 years knows exactly what to say and how to say it. We ain't talking about an athlete that went into journalism. We talking about somebody that's been in journalism their whole life. He never was an athlete. Not once was he an athlete. So journalism is his thing, just like basketball is my thing. He knows what he's saying and when he's saying it. He not getting no pass for this. But now everybody on his ass, now you want to come with a lame ass apology. And don't come on TV and say, we can't be insensitive to this situation. You wrote that tweet. Nobody else.
I am so glad that Steven Jackson and all these other athletes are speaking out, because what Skip Bayless did was wrong. However, it does show how some people think about these athletes. They don't care. For some of these owners and coaches, these athletes are simply a body that they use to make money. And when one body drops, they'll just go and recruit another one. Because they're cogs in a machine, and the machine never stops. Hey yo, on to the next story. Joe Budden says that the standard in hip-hop is too low, and some of these hip-hop artists actually need to be tested. They need to take SAT-type tests before they can even enter the game. They need to break out the number 2 pencil and the Scantron, and they need to sit there and take the hip-hop test to prove that they are proficient enough to even start rapping in the first place. And KRS-One is gonna sit there and be the proctor that watches over all of these little rappers while they take that test. Well, Joe Budden didn't say KRS should proctor. I added that. But Joe Budden did say the rest. According to Joe Budden, some of these new rappers are so slow that he suggests that like music companies give them the multiple choice test, you know, so they can bubble in the bubbles before you even think about giving them a contract. Joe Budden said,
what I'm saying is this. I've always felt like there needs to be like a hip-hop SAT test that you take before you can get a record deal, yo. Some of you niggas gotta answer some questions. Like, how do you hold a microphone? Like, some of the bare basics you gotta know. Mm-hmm. If everybody just know everything with no consequence, no trial and error, like, then everybody's just doing the same shit. No, and then you muddy in the water.
Listen, Joe Budden is off the hook, but he might be onto something. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what would one of those like math test questions look like? Would it be like, Jay-Z made $1 billion, then chopped his dough in half by spending 50% on Duce. After that, he gave 50 Cent 10% so he could create a new show called The Marcy Projects for Stars. Then Hova took 20% of what was left and he gave it to Bey right after he gave $500,000 to Dr. Dre for producing a new banging track for a song that Jay is going to call F. Kanye. How much money does Jay-Z still have left? Listen, you start asking rappers those type of questions before they get a contract, and there might not be too many rappers left. Hey yo, let me know who you think would pass the hip-hop test in the comments. Do you think that Quando Rondo would pass the test? Do you think that Kodak Black would pass the test? Do you think Meek Mills could pass the test? Do you think Boozy could pass the test? Or could Glorilla pass that test? I really want to know what you think. Now, you might disagree with me, but one person who I think could pass that test is Cardi B. Cardi seems to have some smarts about her. Recently, Cardi B went online, and Cardi B was not happy with the inflation situation happening in the US. And Cardi was like, listen, these grocery prices are out of control. Cardi said, quote, nah, grocery prices are ridiculous right now. You might as well eat outside. B, why lettuce cost $6 where I live at? End quote. Well, if you remember around Christmas, Cardi had made some similar comments, and some of her fans were not here for it. Some were like, listen, who you talking to? You making about $40 million. Don't even talk to us about that. Well, Cardi responded back, and Cardi was like, quote, I'm worth more than that. And guess what? If I don't save, work, and budget, I could lose it too. What makes you think that no matter how much money you got, you can't lose it all if you don't manage your money correctly? I too have bills, responsibilities, and people I have to help. End quote. In response to Cardi B's comments, a whole bunch of people reacted, and one person on social media wrote, quote, exactly, Cardi, like I could be worth $2 million bringing in $500K a year, but if my expenses are $450K, what am I? Broke. Like, people don't get it. Especially being a breadwinner in a family, we take care of others, send money, help out, etc. Ish can go quick. End quote. Another person came through and wrote, quote, the 1% lecturing the rest of us. So inspiring. Hopefully you survive inflation. End quote. Another person came through and wrote, quote, the more you got, the easier it is to lose. End quote. You know something? That's the second time that I've heard somebody say that this year alone. Let me see. You think it's easier to lose the $40 million that you have in the bank, or that $120 bill that you have in your pocket that needs to stretch for like the whole rest of the month? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I could be wrong. Maybe it is easier to lose the $40 million than it is to lose that $120 bill. And let me just say this. Even if you did believe that it's easier to lose the big money, you might not want to run around saying it. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember, there are still some people out here who are really struggling. You know what I'm saying? They're still reaching in the back of the couch searching for a little loose change. So when you say that, it comes off a little insensitive. It comes off a little Skip Baylessy. You know what I mean? But back to Cardi. Cardi is absolutely right when she's talking about this inflation. This inflation is ridiculous. I mean, I decided I was going to eat a little healthier for the new year, so I was going to make a salad, but I didn't have a cucumber. So I went on Instacart to try to order a cucumber. They wanted $4 for that cucumber. I was like, forget this salad. And I ate a beef patty with cocoa bread instead. And I am definitely blaming that on inflation. Now check it out. Remember Black Sheep from back in the day? Well, Black Sheep has now filed a lawsuit against Universal Music over $750 million of unpaid royalties. Black Sheep alleges that Universal Music accepted both cash and company stock from Spotify in exchange for music from their artist, and then turned around, and when they were paying out the royalties, they only counted the cash and not the stock. According to Black Sheep, that little backdoor sweetheart deal that Universal made with Spotify basically robbed them of almost $1 billion. Legal documents related to the case state that, quote, in the mid-2000s, Universal struck an undisclosed sweetheart deal with Spotify whereby Universal agreed to accept substantially lower royalty payments on artists' behalf in exchange for equity stake in Spotify, then a fledgling streaming service. Yet, rather than distribute to artists their 50% of Spotify stock or pay artists their true and accurate royalty payments, for years, Universal shortchanged artists and deprived plaintiffs and class members of the full royalty payments they were owed under Universal's contract. For approximately a decade, Universal omitted from the royalty statements Universal issued to plaintiffs that it had received Spotify stock in connection with the use or exploitation of Black Sheep recordings, end quote. I gotta tell you, this could be huge, because if they were doing this to a whole bunch of artists and Black Sheep actually wins this lawsuit, do you know how much money these dudes are gonna have to pay out? It is going to be ridiculous. And $750 million is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, for real, I'm over here and I'm really wondering, did they do this to all of their artists, or did they just do this to Black Sheep because they were the black sheep of the Universal music family? Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to Celeb Source, your source for celebrity news. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.